there's a strong thing happening in the world, and then in this country, and then in the media, and that is this concept of separation or separating. And we know we've heard about it politically, and we hear about it on other levels, but there's another one, and I think people are not putting it together. They're not kind of opening their eyes to see this. So in the news, there's this big hoopla about the President of the United States made a comment that athletes, NFL players, don't like. So this is interesting because he's kind of, they're kind of upset about this whole thing, and they're protesting, saying that, his comment was unnecessary, which is whatever. And yet there's not as much mention about the fact that in the same league, there's at least one player that's being, what would you call, accused of abuse. Several counts of abuse against a woman. Now this is interesting because he's been told you're not going to play. Your penalty for abusing this woman or these women, whatever it is that you can't play for 4 games. Instead of taking the hit, he's fighting it because he has a team and ownership that has enough money and power to keep finding him a way to get out of taking the hit and not playing for 4 games. Now, the irony to me is, a couple years ago, there was a big quarterback who was said to have deflated balls because he liked the feel of them more by a fraction of an ounce or whatever, and he sat out for 4 games. But the guy who abuses women doesn't have to sit out the games, which is like making a statement that a deflated ball has more value than a person and a woman. I find that to be repulsive. Thank you. So, there was even a quarterback that a couple years ago raped a woman, and it was pretty evident, it seems pretty evident that it happened. But enough pressure, and she decided, she didn't want to attend, she didn't want to participate, so, he was allowed to go back and play, and, nobody notices anymore. So I think that it's a gross precedent that happens. But at the same time, I think it's kind of silly because we shouldn't be making such celebrities and stars out of athletes and and all that. But that's another story. I just think that here's my take on this. This is hypocrisy because the athletes are saying we're protesting about something the president said. If you really have that much energy to want to protest anything, I'm curious. First of all, why don't people realize God is all that matters? Not your athletics and all these other things. Those are just entertainment. God's all that matters. But my take is that we steer clear of making, these athletes that are already a bit narcissistic and suffer from such self-importance, that we make gods out of them. I don't think that's necessary. They're just entertainers. So to me, I've never even seen a full game of I don't think any sport, because it's, to me, it's not important. But I decided to say something because of the level of hypocrisy. So, there was an athlete that murdered his wife a few years ago, you might remember, and I don't even bother naming names. But that's what happened. Even though to some degree the person got off legally, it's what happened. Somebody murdered their wife. I believe you should take away all their trophies. I believe you should never mention their name again. Because this is what's important to them is ego. They want to hold titles, they want to hold records, they want to be paid a lot. Take away their trophies, their name, their money, and it'll set a precedent. It'll make them go, I probably shouldn't do that. You can kill your wife and get, I just don't agree with that stuff. So I think the mothers, the sisters of these athletes, I think that the wives, the girlfriends, the friends of the friends, even the other players on the team should say, I refuse to get on the field with this person because it'll make a difference. But the moms stand outside those stadiums and stand holding arm to arm saying, we're not allowing this game to happen without people having to push past us. You see, the moms, the women should, thank you, the women should get together and say, no, we're, like the old Greek story, 400 BC, where the wife said, we're tired of the wars in Greece. None of you soldiers are getting sex ever again until the wars are done. Take away their money and sex, man. Wars will stop. Abuses, will stop. So I think the teammates should say, I'm not getting on the field with somebody that abuses. I think the announcer should say, I'm not mentioning the person's name. They won't typically do that. Because it's, they got to get paid. And I understand that. But somebody's got to say something at some point. I mean, it's little old me at a little church somewhere, out here doing this. I certainly can't be the biggest voice of somebody, speaking up. But it's all about this: be politically correct. You don't want to say anything. You don't want to look bad. I just don't agree with that stuff. So, and I'm not even claiming to know all the details of everybody's life involved in this sort of thing. But I'm mentioning this in a church because God is about love and healthiness, and these behaviors are not about love and healthiness. So I therefore think it's right that I can speak about it, because it's not God. So I can speak about it like anything else that isn't God. And I think people that hear about these kinds of things, the players that commit such mistakes, a very popular quarterback. He was like the new thing years ago. He finally, he got arrested because he was, having dog fighting in his yards. He had professional dog fights. But what was weirder is by his own hands, he was actually torturing and murdering the dogs. I mean, this is an NFL star. And he's actually quite ashamed of what he was doing. And I believe people can change. So I can't tell you whether his heart is completely repentant, but it looks like it to me. I don't know. All I know is people can change. So any of the people that have done such things, I'm not saying they should be condemned. I'm saying they can be shined light upon them. That's all. Shine light and say, look, that's not healthy. Can we help you? Other teammates, moms, daughters, whatever. Can we help you? But we're not going to let you play, but can we help you? Just like any other tough love 12-step program. That's my thought on that. So lastly, if we've done such things, or even for the people that are acting repulsive like that, it's not just our job to say they're naughty, but rather how can we help them? And one way, besides shining light on it and saying no, the other is prayer. So let's share a prayer along these lines. We hope for the healing and the best, not just of the people that have been abused, but the abusers. Because if somebody doesn't love the hell out of them and pray the hell out of them, they'll continue living in that consciousness. So let's share a moment. We're gathered not just here ourselves, but all the people in this room and watching throughout the world. There are many ridiculous things we see happening. Stressors in this world. Challenges, difficulties, thoughts, worries, concerns, financial, health, and so on. All of these things are brought to us here and now, but also abuses. Abuses we have committed and done to us as well. This topic is absolutely right here, right now. It's seen in the media, but it's also held in our hearts right here. On this topic, we say, beloved God, we call upon your power and your presence to help us. Help us with the triggers it brings up in us. Help us that this topic needs healing, and it's not something we demand you to fix, but rather through us, help us to bring this healing about. To all people we have harmed or even thought we have harmed, we say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I meant to know only the love of God. Thank you. And to all people who felt hurt by others, hear those words. Hear those words if it's your children or yourself or anyone else. We hold all such characters and we hold the images of the people in our minds right now. Instead of you're wrong and we don't like you, it's something's not right here, and it comes from fear and pain. And so rather than condemn you for fear and pain, making that even more powerful, we say the fear and pain that causes you to behave this way. Beloved brother, sister, we're here to say we're surrendering that with you and for you. Allow that burden off your shoulders and we'll replace it with the presence of God, the presence of love, and the presence of healing. And that's how love answers and God answers pain. And so it is.